Hi, this is Mike Stern, and this is lesson number 4. And I wanted to talk a little bit about just dynamics and kind of groove, you know, playing in time and placement of notes and all that stuff, which is it's both those things are kind of huge subjects in a way, and they're kind of hard in some ways to practice. I think a lot of the way you practice both those things, the dynamics and time, is just to be aware of time always. By sometimes taping yourself playing and saying, oh, it feels a little awkward here, it's rushing here, it's slowing down here, and listening to great time players, which for me was, you know, Wes Montgomery is one of the most swinging guitar players ever. Hendrix, of course. I think Clapton's time is always cool for me. When in the Cream, I used to listen to them all the time. So it's a bunch of different types of music, but really listen to a lot of those guys. And of course, horn players like Sonny Rollins, amazing time player. I used to listen to a lot of Motown stuff and just stuff with a groove to it that I could that would get me and I think that kind of knit in to some degree just listening. And then just as I got more as a player, getting more gigs or just getting a level of playing that was a little bit more fluent, I could kind of concentrate on my own time and in a little bit more analytical way, or checking myself out a little bit and asking other people, how does it feel, this kind of stuff. The other thing is the dynamics of a phrase or a couple of notes. I mean, I think we all know how strong that can be, even if you don't consciously know it. For instance, here's a blues lick. Right? That's one. Here's the same blues lick. Totally different meanings, the exact same lick. You know, it's so really, B.B. King is an amazing improviser, or Buddy Guy, or just because they don't have all these notes or scales necessarily, but they can talk, make the guitar talk, and do a lot with very little. In terms of when I was playing with Miles Davis, he was a big believer in that, like making his horns sing. And he had a lot of notes. He could play a whole lot of chromatic, cool lines, all that stuff. But he also to leave a lot of space too, and really sing his ideas. And dynamics were a huge part of how he would improvise. Is how he would play certain notes. Also how he would place them in the time. And these are kind of vague. There's not really like a book you need to listen, to read or anything like that to study this kind of stuff. It's more over time, just being aware of it, and you do the best you can with it. Some people don't have great time; they just don't have a time where it locks. I think I've been kind of blessed to have where I can cop a groove pretty good, and I wasn't aware of that until some people told me, you got a really good time feel. So. But I'd heard a lot of other players, and some players that I play with now who are amazing players that don't necessarily cop the same kind of groove, or sometimes their time isn't metronomic, or sometimes it rushes a little, and they find ways to make music around what their defects are, I think ultimately the idea is to find your own voice playing, and your own voice is defined by as much by what you can't do as what you can do, just as much, I think. So sometimes players learn how to float over the time because they can't dig into the time. Sometimes guys just play and they have a harder time floating over the time, Sometimes people do both. And sometimes people play with a certain kind of dynamic thing that's more even, and it's really strong. and some people ghost notes left and right. Certain notes you don't hear as loud, some notes pop out. But it's nice to be aware of that and what the possibilities are when you're playing. Just in terms of time, I'm just going to jam on and do maybe all of the above and try to just be aware of playing certain notes and having certain notes pop out a little bit more for kind of. So I'm just going to do something over a track and try to lay in the groove in a certain way that hopefully will work.